I want to welcome everyone this evening. Thank you for sharing this part of your Sunday evening with us. It's a warm Sunday afternoon, but again, thank you for being here. We welcome our Zoomers as well. We especially welcome those folks who haven't been with us before. We're grateful to you as well. Thank you. And if you haven't filled out a yellow card, it's a welcome card. It helps us stay in touch with you. We would love for you to do that. A quick note. I seem to be having difficulty with dates. The date of the next service is not the 8th of August because guess what? It is, I believe, the 22nd of August. So that will be our last service for this service year, and I hope you will come. We're going to talk about wine. Wine, wine, wine. So it will be a fun service, and then we will have refreshments afterwards to celebrate what this year has been and what the next year will be. So spirituality of wine and lots of refreshments and time together. Thank you. I want to thank some folks who have been instrumental in helping with this service. You're going to hear more from them. David Heatherly and Carol McCulloch and Kathy Quackenbush. I also want to thank Andy Crosland, who's sitting over here. He's in his, what should I say, your debut of being our Zoom director. Catherine had a conflict, so Andy stepped up, and we're very thankful, Andy. Great. And we're most grateful to Frank Walker, who has been with us numerous times and is sharing his ethereal, original, most wonderful music with us this evening. Thanks, Frank, for being with us. When you walked in, you probably heard some pretty jazzy music. Since this is a service about saints, we decided that what could be more appropriate than some good jazz when the saints come marching in. During this service, we're going to hear some different renditions of what saints are all about and who we might know. So just sort of buckle up and go with the flow, and we're going to move forward. We're going to begin with a poem by the Persian poet Hafez, and it's called Tripping Over Joy. And if you will just listen to his words, it is a poem of both hope and joy. What is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made such a fantastic move that the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. Would you please stand for the invocation of the directions?
You have noticed that everything an Indian does is in a circle, and that is because the power of the world always works in circles, and everything tries to be round. This is the nature of things. In the old days, all our power came to us from the sacred hoop of the nation, and so long as the hoop was unbroken, the people flourished. The flowering tree was the living center of the hoop, and the circle of the four quarters nourished it. The east gave peace and light. The south gave warmth. The west gave rain, and the north, with its cold and mighty wind, gave strength and endurance. This evening, we invoke the Great Spirit, Wakantanka, to let us see our time on this earth as a journey into wholeness, a journey into sainthood. The Holy One reminds us that through the ages, there have been many men and women designated as saints. The Holy One can never be completely known, tells us it is time to see saints everywhere and in ourselves. Saints are not known for their holiness, but for their goodness. We burn sage to remember our spiraling journey, which now takes us to the new creation on the Via Transformativa. The smoke constantly transfers into infinite shapes and reminds us of the goodness that the Holy One embedded in our hearts. The new creation is calling us forth even as it is remolding us from the inside, so that we may find the true self, the saint within us, and that we may know every atom of our being is the work of the goodness of creation. Being a saint or a mystic is already present in us. We just have to get out of the way. Actually, we have to lose ourselves to find ourselves. We hear the beat of the buffalo drum and know we all have a saint within us. The sweet notes of the flute speaks the language of the mystery of the circle, and we know our life flourishes in the circle and is constantly recreated every moment. Our job is to show up, seek the sacred, and find joy in the outcome. Facing east, the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the East tell us we are all the center of the world. The circle has no beginning and no end. Seeing the sacred in all things, especially ourselves, is not easy work. Altogether, may we grow in grace, may we grow in gratitude, may we grow in wisdom that the spiraling path is the only path. May we be on fire with presence and see the sacred in all things. This is how we befriend the new creation in ourselves. Quarter turn to the right, facing south.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the South ask us to open our hearts so that we may experience the holy wholeness of connection, because we are willing to experience the pain of transformation. Altogether, may we grow in grace, may we grow in gratitude, may we grow in wisdom that the spiraling path is the only path. May we be on fire with presence and see the sacred in all things. This is how we befriend the new creation.
Quarter turn to the right, facing west. No. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the West tell us to know that the truth lives in the circle and has been inscribed into the heart of every being. It is our job to find this truth that seeks us. Altogether, may we grow in grace, may we grow in gratitude, may we grow in wisdom that the spiraling path is the only path. May we be on fire with presence and see the sacred in all things. This is how we befriend the new creation in ourselves. Quarter turn to the right, facing north.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the North want us to know that the Great Circle is not a place or a thing. The Great Circle is who we are, and that we are the goodness of creation. It is in this goodness that we find ourselves. Altogether, may we grow in grace, may we grow in gratitude, may we grow in wisdom that the spiraling path is the only path. May we be on fire with presence to see the sacred in all things. This is how we befriend the new creation in ourselves. Facing to the center, inward.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the center want us to look around this circle and see the goodness of the creation in every face. We are all on the spiraling path, separately and together. Just being ourselves is where we find wholeness and sainthood. Altogether, may we grow in grace, may we grow in gratitude, may we grow in wisdom that the spiraling path is the only path. May we be on fire with presence and see the sacred in all things. This is how we befriend the new creation in ourselves. Namaste.
Please hear these holy words from 3 different religious communities. From Taoism by Lao Tzu. The saint does not accumulate. While giving each thing to others, he has his own possession. And this from The Way of Jewish Mystics by Alan Unterman. Elijah, the Gaon or sage of Vilna, once asked his friend the Maggid, or itinerant Jewish preacher of Dubno, to give him ethical instruction so that he might strengthen himself in the service of God. Now, the sage was known as a man of saintly disposition who spent all of his waking time secluded in his room in study, in prayer, and in contemplation. So the itinerant preacher of Dubno said to him, "It is easy to be a sage and a saint cloistered right here in your room. You should go out into the marketplace and try to be a saint there." And last, these holy words from the poet Rumi. Join the community of saints and know the delight of your own soul. Enter the ruins of your heart and learn the meaning of humility. These are holy words for all of the saints, especially those gathered here this evening.
Now, with this celebration this evening, we could, of course, list the many, many, many official and certified saints that have been identified through the millennia by the many religious and spiritual and infinitely diverse cultures. But this evening, we're going to commit heresy. We're going to suggest that sainthood is not reserved to a special group of women and men. Instead, we are reminding you of the pure fact that everyone has a saint living in them, and of course, that includes you. Creation spirituality tells us that everyone is a mystic and a saint. We are born full of wonder and can recover it at any age. This evening, our focus will be sacred, will be sacred that lives in you. Sainthood lives in us because we are the goodness of creation. It began 14 billion years ago, and it was all good. We can surely regain our sainthood by knowing and seeing that everything is sacred. Claiming your sainthood is about doing the inner work on yourself in order to begin anew a relationship with the self. It is about confronting our fear of change and accepting that all is sacred, including us. The self in us is absolutely dedicated to us, reclaiming our divinity or sacredness. Our celebration this evening will give voice to our sainthood, give voice to our kindness and compassion, and give voice to the sacred within us. Through the writings of many people long gone and present, we will experience that the old way of viewing sainthood has evolved through the Via Transformativa. We are a new creation with a new imagination. We are celebrating the huge possibilities of healing and social justice, and it is our hope you will see how that works inside of you in that most sacred place called the self. When we are being ourselves, we are experiencing sainthood. We really are what we have been looking for. Now, as we listen to Frank's music for a bit, we'll move on with our meditation. Thank you.
This is a piece of prose that was written by Marianne Williamson from her book, A Return to Love. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we were liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
The following prose was written by Orion Mountain Dreamer and can be found in her book, The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living.
I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing.
It doesn't interest me how long or how old you are.
I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, and for the adventure of being alive.
It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon.
I want to know if you've touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving it to hide it, to fade it, or to fix it. I want to know if you can be joy, mine or yours, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, or remember the limitations of being human.
It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true.
I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself.
It doesn't interest me if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul.
I want to know if you can be faithful and therefore be trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day, and if you can source your life from God's presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of a lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes.
It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have.
I want to know if you can get up night after night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done for the children.
It doesn't interest me who you are or how you came to be here.
I want to know if you'll stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back.
It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied.
I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else fails or falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in those empty moments.
And now it's our turn. Each one of us found on the seat of our chairs this evening a quote from a saint. And in the Orthodox tradition, we're going to illuminate these saints. The candles are already lit, but everyone is going to be invited to come up to the microphone, read your quote, and then proceed to the altar, lift a small candle, and put your quote underneath that candle. You will then be illuminating one saint, and it will be one saint to another saint. We're going to model that for you. In reading the quote and the author, my quote says, "Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I sense much fear in you." Yoda.
And the Eskimo said, "If I did not know about God and sin, would I go to hell?" And the priest said, "No, not if you did not know." And the Eskimo says, "Then why did you tell me?"
If you don't work on yourself, then much of your politics is merely projection. We have to walk our talk and do the inner work that allows the outer work to be authentic and also effective. Matthew Fox.
At the end of life, we will not be judged by how many diplomas we have received, how much money we have made, how many great things we have done. We will be judged by, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was naked and you clothed me. I was homeless and you took me in. Mother Teresa.
The proper function of a government is to not make it easy for people to do good and difficult for them to do evil. Daniel Webster.
Saint Anthony said in his solitude, he sometimes encountered devils who looked like angels, and other times found angels who looked like devils. When asked how he could tell the difference, the saint said that you can only tell which is which by the way you feel after the creature has left your company. Elizabeth Gilbert.
Instructions for having a life. Pay attention. Be astonished. Tell about it. Mary Oliver.
Love is not to be purchased, and affection has no price. Saint Jerome.
There is life in you. Search that life. Search the secret jewel in the mountain of your body. Rumi.
I am out with lanterns looking for myself. Emily Dickinson.
Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Rumi.
Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Francis of Assisi.
Follow your bliss. Joseph Campbell.
All are called to be prophets and saints, which is to interfere with injustice. Matthew Fox.
What we are here to do is to meet and become the person we are. Andrew Harvey.
No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Buddha.
We are sane almost all the time. We are spiritual most of the time. We are saintly from time to time. David Rico.
You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Buddha.
Work on you for you. Hindu wisdom.
The earth is a beehive. We all enter by the same door. African proverb.
A very great vision is needed, and the man who has it must follow it as the eagle seeks the deepest blue of the sky. Crazy Horse, Lakota Sioux.
No shortcuts exist to the top of the palm tree. African proverb.
This is Anne's. No person is born great. Great people become great when others are sleeping. African proverb. And mine is, sometimes following your heart means losing your mind. Eskimo proverb.
Since I'm the rebel in the group, I wanted to make sure that we don't neglect on this International Day of the Cat, St. Gertrude, patron saint of cats. And going along that line, sort of, my words of wisdom come from St. Yoda. Do or do not try, or do not, there is no try.
We have no desire to convince anyone that there is only one way by which faith can be acquired. Bill W., AA.
The greatest obstacle to God is religion. Carl Jung.
What an illuminating altar. New saints, unfamiliar saints, and very familiar saints all gathered together. I've spent a lot of time in a lot of places, and I've not seen an altar that's quite as lovely as that one. Thank you so much for sharing your quote and sharing your energy in creating this beautiful altar. As we gather in this circle, we are indeed all saints. And as saints, we share our time, our talent, and our treasure. That's what makes STAR the very amazing and extraordinary special place that it is. At this time, I'm going to ask Carol and David if they would pass around our offering stars, and Frank is going to provide some background music. We thank you for your generosity, oh so much.
Will you join with me, please, with the prayer of gratefulness? Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
As saints, we carry the joys and concerns of the world with us and into the world. Are there joys and are there concerns that you might like to share with us?
Many of you know Farnaz, who was a student at Walford and is from Afghanistan. And I talked to her this week, and I just noticed that Kabul has been taken over. And she has a twin brother that is there and has been in hiding for several years now. One brother whose head was executed. And then all of her family, with the exceptions of the ones that are already out of the country, are now, their lives are just truly in danger. So please keep them in your prayers and concerns.
Absolutely, absolutely. Other joys, other concerns. Okay, let's see if I can get this way over.
Or a little way. I just wanted to let you know that my friend Ann Patterson, who has been an infrequent visitor here, her daughter has several forms of cancer, and it started with melanoma, so wear your sunscreen. But she has had her first immunotherapy treatment, and it did well, and they're just going day by day.
Working it. We're gonna make it. We got it.
I had the pleasure all summer long of a young man, only 8 years in this country, from Vietnam. He was sponsored by, the family was sponsored by his uncle. His father has cancer, but it's going to be curable, but he's been going through chemo and radiation. This young man is in honors college at USC, and he was just a joy all summer long. I have 2 new people and they seem to be fine.
You're in good hands. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Are there other joys, other concerns? All right. As saints, these indeed are our joys and our concerns. And as our service continues, will you hear these words, please? They are a benediction, not only for all that we have experienced this evening, but they are also a benediction honoring our joys and our concerns as well as each other. Before we share our voices in the benediction at the end, we need to bless our time together. We need to bless this beautiful altar as well. So hear these words first. We give thanks for all those saints who worshiped God, by whatever name they chose to express the divine spirit of love, whether meeting in twig and bush arbors or grand cathedrals, weathered wooden churches or crumbling cement meeting houses, in the roundness of circles or straight line of pews. In praise for the graciousness of creative and divine energy, hands are joined and hands are raised and hands are at work, whether manicured hands or hands stained with dirt and grease, strong hands or gnarled hands, gloved hands or flesh-colored hands of many colors, all holy hands, used as wave offerings shared around the world. We are grateful for hardworking saints, whether hard-hatted or steel-booted, head bandanaed or torso aproned, blue-collared or three-piece suited. And now will you join me in this benediction? Holiest of all, saints leave their mark on the earth for you, for us, and for those to come. We are grateful for the tremendous sacrifices made by those who have gone before us and by those who walk with us. Gracious One, bless the memories and energy of all your saints. May we learn to walk wisely from their examples of faith, dedication, perseverance, worship, and love. Yes, we can be saints, and bless us too. Amen. Frank is going to send us out with a lovely, lovely piece. Frank?